Hey YouTubers, it's Charlie. So this is going to be my Flash episode 4 video. A lot of awesome stuff happened. We got to see an Arrow Felicity crossover. We got to see Captain Cold for the first time and the birth of the Rogues, like the official birth of the Rogues. Geoff Johns wrote the episode. The title was Going Rogue, so anytime they do stuff like that, you know there's going to be some extra comic book Easter eggs. Also, hello any new people. I feel like a lot of new people found me this week, so if you're finding me for the first time, I do Flash and DC TV show videos every week, so be sure to subscribe to get everything. Careful for spoilers if you're not cut up with the Flash though, so starting with top 5 moments. Number 5, the Flash learns to harness the Speed Force. The games, everyone telling him he's not fast enough, Harrison Wells telling him there's things he still needs to learn, all part of a season-long training montage where he learns how to do the really crazy comic book things. That includes stuff like breaking into other dimensions or traveling through time, all made possible through use of the Speed Force. Right now, it seems like that is a long ways off though. It's hard to tell how far they're going to go into the Flash Rebirth comic, like that's the comic they're adapting for the storyline. I do think he's going to do something crazy by the time we get to the mid-season finale, but he might just run really fast. The train car save at the end did seem like it was teasing him going faster. There are like mental and physical components to Flash's being able to access more of the Speed Force, so he's going to have to jump through some mental hoops before he can go super fast, and he has to get used to the daily grind of just fighting average crime. Number 4, Black Adam's Diamond. It's Geoff Johns, so of course we're going to get another tease for a major franchise. They did the same thing on Smallville. Kahndaq has also been referenced on Arrow too, I believe. It gets a lot of name drops, but as far as I know, all the Shazam family characters are going to be introduced in the movies first. Then we might get to see Osiris or Mary or any of the non-A-list characters on the TV shows. They could also show up on Constantine too, just because they're part of the supernatural DC universe. I couldn't find any direct references to the diamond specifically, other than it's just a precious artifact that belongs to Black Adam. I cannot wait to find out what he's been doing this whole time once we get to that movie. And for those that don't know, The Rock is playing him, so picture like a super hulked out, super tan version of Superman. If you want to see like a really crazy version of The Rock, just watch him in Pain and Gain. Picture that character as Black Adam. Number 3, Felicity crossover. They made a lot of jokes about why she was there, but really I think she just wanted to see how Barry was. The first really big joke was Barry talking to Iris about crazy people trolling her blog about the red streak. Felicity chimes in and suddenly we remember that she had the blog up on her screen in the last episode of Arrow. That was Iris's blog, so Felicity is the crazy internet person. Just like she was the crazy person that burnt down Applied Sciences. She was an integral part of the story, like she wasn't just over for fun. She became the moral compass of the episode, which is basically what she is for Oliver. She did the same thing for Grant Gustin that she does for Oliver, which is why she told him not to try to be such a loner. There were a couple of really funny Felicity moments though, like whenever they need her help and she jumps into like hacker mode and they do that big camera swivel around her. That's basically what they do on Arrow whenever she goes into battle mode. It's like Felicity's superhero shot, like whenever Stephen Amell puts the hood on and the camera zooms in. Once you become a superhero or a Justice League A-lister, you get your own superhero shot. So it was just hilarious to see them do it on The Flash. And she even had her special little desk in the middle there. I don't know where that came from. It might be because she'd been in town for a couple days. A lot of people were asking about why she changed her outfit so many times. I think she just changed her outfit for each day that she was there, with the exception of the dress. All the women in my Twitter feed were going crazy about that dress. And yes, it was smoking hot. She is smoking hot. We also have to talk about that creepy moment with Harrison Wells. I think when he said he was expecting great things from her, he just obviously knew her future because he's from the future, but I think he was just talking about the amazing things that she would go on to do with Team Arrow. I don't think he was specifically pointing to anything that's going to happen this season. Number 2, meet Leonard Snart, aka Captain Cold. Probably going to go down as the number 2 all-time best villain in Flash history. Not the most powerful, but definitely the most interesting, or one of the most interesting. It explains why they picked a really big actor like Wentworth Miller to play him. They just need someone who can be a complicated villain, like Harrison Wells, another great example of a very complicated character. In case you missed it, they pretty much breeze over his entire backstory in the comics. Had a dirty cop for a father, used to beat him and his sister, who actually might appear on the show at some point, his sister that is. I think his father's actually in Iron Heights right now, I think they said. All the trauma just drove him to a life of crime. But it's his encounter with the Flash in this episode that inspires him to become the person Cisco appropriately names Captain Cold. So, in a way, the Flash is responsible for creating Captain Cold. The Flash and Cisco. Cisco gave him the gun. Did you catch his reaction when Cisco called him that to his face? It was priceless. I feel like the episode did a really good job of showing how you can be responsible for creating your own villains. If Cisco hadn't made the gun, and Grant Gustin hadn't saved that armored car, Captain Cold would have never been born. Leonard Snart would have just gone on robbing banks. Like, he wouldn't have become the future supervillain that we know him as. I've said it before, but the Flash's life, whenever you zoom out to scale, is a big causality loop. Something very specific happened to turn him into the Flash. It wasn't by random chance, and it wasn't something that would have happened naturally without external intervention. Like, Harrison Wells caused the big accident on purpose. It'll all make sense by the end of the season, but think about it this way, time is a loop. I know some people talk about time being a river. There are a lot of different ways to talk about time, but in The Flash, it's all about the loop. One real small thing that I picked up that might have been a tease is that Cisco talked about creating the gun because he thought Barry might turn out to be evil. So he created the gun to fight someone who had Flash powers. We know about an evil Flash. When he does show himself, they might have to get Captain Cold's help to stop him. Because as far as we know, there's only one gun like that. If you haven't read the comics, Captain Cold has always been something of a neutral character, so there is potential that he could help Grant Gustin out if it served his purpose. Which leads me to my number one moment, Captain Cold forms the Rogues. If the title of the episode weren't teaser enough, the same man who brought him the cold gun brought him the heat gun. Mick, the character at the end, is the real name of the supervillain Heatwave. Just try to guess what his ability is. I like the way they tease the idea of Central City and Keystone City being a rogue's playground. It just means they're going to start having a lot more fun now that they've upped their game, so to speak. Expect to see the rogues at least a couple more times this season. But let me know, what was your favorite moment from the episode? And while you think about that, here are some of the big Easter eggs that I spotted. I already mentioned Kandak and Black Adam, but huge Easter egg right there. And it's not so much of an Easter egg, but something to watch out for is the colors that Felicity wears. Like all her outfits, they're always chosen very carefully. It's like they're trying to inception you into thinking about specific people, and sometimes they're just like a barometer for everyone's emotions in the room. Like when things are really chill, she wears more neutral colors, or when she first showed up in bright colors with the streaks, it looked more like the Flash. Like her outfit was trying to say, I am so excited to talk to you about your big secret. So when she shows back up on Arrow, just pay attention to what she's wearing and what it might say about what's going on in the scene. Moving along, there's the Hall of Heroes in the Central City Museum. In the comics, this ended up being the Flash Museum, although I think the Flash Museum ended up being in Keystone City. That person that made the phone call is actually the person in the comics who becomes the curator of that Flash Museum. Captain Cold talking about the Motor Car Diner, that's a place from the comics. When they were playing trivia at the coffee shop, the host was named Oswald Loomis. In the comics, that's the prankster. He's also appeared in the Superman comics. One of the groups on the board is named the Jailbirds. I thought that might be a Prison Break joke, just since so many of the actors they've cast this season are from that show too. I think I hit most of the big Easter eggs, but if you saw any that I didn't mention, just leave them below in the comments. Overall, I gave the episode an A-. Amazing introduction for a huge comic book character with an amazing performance by Wentworth Miller. Cannot wait to see him back along with Dominic Purcell. He's that character at the end playing Heatwave. I don't know which episode he's going to show up in. I think it's going to be somewhere after the middle of the season. Felicity with Team Flash, totally amazing. You get the sense that she would totally fit in with their team. Like, she's one of them. But it's Oliver who needs her the most, so she's always going to be loyal to him first. Really, the only thing that didn't click for me was the really relationshipy stuff. Like Eddie with Detective West. I love that they had that funny bro moment, but I feel like we need to get to know Eddie more before we warm up to him. He still seems like a real mystery. As the romantic foil for Grant Gustin, you're automatically programmed to hate him. Add to that, if you're a comic book fan, you're kind of sitting on the edge of your chair every week, just waiting for him to snap. The Iris character is also still a little bit of a mystery. I just don't feel comfortable with her yet. I think it's because she's not inside the group. She's one of the only main characters who does not know who Grant Gustin is, so it's a little bit frustrating. That might be why Felicity is so much more fun, just because she got to be on the inside from the start. She pretty much figured out what Oliver was doing on her own before he ever told her. So maybe Iris will do the same thing, but I feel like keeping her ignorant for too long will just get really boring, especially for comic book readers. That aside, it was a great episode, great Rogue episode. They haven't been confirmed for season 2, but the CW did just announce that the first episode of The Flash was like the highest rated premiere in the history of their network, so it's not a guarantee, but yeah, I'm gonna call it now. Season 2, definitely a go. In case you missed it, there was some crazy Marvel Phase 3 stuff that went down this morning, so I added some extra links for all that stuff in the description. Tomorrow though, Ra's al Ghul is coming to Arrow, so be sure to check it out. You can click here to catch up on Arrow right now, and click here for last week's Flash episode. Thank you so much for watching, so let's all high five. I'll see you guys tomorrow.